the Fukushima Oki on 13 February at a shallow focal depth of 51.9 kilometers. It had a maximum JMA intensity of Shindo 6+, while on the Mercalli intensity scale, it earned a rating of 8. The earthquake was followed by multiple aftershocks within less than an hour, 3 of which registering magnitude 5.3. The earthquake itself has been considered an aftershock of the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, which had occurred almost 10 years prior. The earthquake left 1 person dead and at least 185 injured. It also inflicted significant structural damage across the Tohoku and Kanto regions. In addition, a non-destructive 20 cm tsunami was observed at a port in Miyagi Prefecture in the early morning of the 14th of February. Because of its proximity to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, the event provoked concerns of radiation leaks but were dismissed soon after. Although there were no changes to the level of radiation, cooling water used in 2 of the reactor units was discovered to be leaking, indicating some damage had occurred. The 11th of March 2011 Tohoku earthquake struck off the coast of eastern Japan, with an epicenter north of Sendai and a hypocenter depth of 29 kilometers. It was the largest instrumentally recorded earthquake in the country, and the 4th largest ever recorded worldwide. This earthquake generated massive tsunamis measuring up to 41 meters in height, the highest in Japan. It swept through the Kanto plain, destroying towns and cities. The tsunami also caused a series of catastrophic nuclear meltdowns at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant shortly after. In all, an estimated 20,000 people lost their lives due to both the earthquake and tsunami. The disaster resulted in economic losses of US $360 billion, making it the costliest natural disaster in history. The Pacific Plate, made of oceanic lithosphere, subducts beneath the Okhotsk Plate along a convergent boundary located off the east coast of the northern half of Japan. It runs from the Boso Triple Junction and ends near Hokkaido, where it joins the Kuril Trench. At the location of this earthquake, the Pacific Plate moves approximately westward relative to the North American Plate at a velocity of 70 mm per year, subducting beneath Japan at the Japan Trench and dipping to the west beneath Japan. This subduction zone is capable of producing megathrust earthquakes with magnitudes greater than 8.5, as seen in the historical records. It was on the subduction interface where the 2011 earthquake nucleated. That event involved a 220 by 400 km section of the subduction zone that had ruptured. The earthquake occurred as the result of reverse faulting within the subducting Pacific Plate, and not on the subduction interface itself. Therefore, it could be considered an intraplate earthquake. Moment tensor solutions indicate that slip occurred either on a moderately dipping fault striking to the south, or a moderately dipping fault striking to the north-northeast, consistent with the east-west oriented compression expected in this region. Meanwhile, the Earthquake Research Committee from the Japanese government said the earthquake ruptured along a 45 km long, north-south striking fault that dips towards the east according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The earthquake struck at a depth of 49.9 kilometers, while the Japanese Meteorological Agency placed its depth at 55 kilometers, a revision from the initial 60 kilometers. 11 days after the 10th anniversary of the March 2011 tragedy, a strong 7.0 MW or 7.2 MJMA earthquake struck 80 kilometers north of the epicenter of the February 2021 event. The earthquake struck at 1809 local time, 54 kilometers beneath the coast of Miyagi Prefecture. A tsunami warning for waves up to 1 meter was broadcast but was rescinded shortly after. So far, a few injuries have been reported and there is no serious structural damage to buildings. The same prefecture was also significantly affected by the Fukushima earthquake. It is unknown if the March 20 event is related to the earthquake a month earlier, but both were a result of thrust faulting on or near the subduction zone and in the zone of rupture of the 2011 quake. The earthquake left at least 185 people injured in Miyagi and Fukushima prefectures, according to a government spokesman. More than 950,000 homes did not have access to power. And many power plants throughout the country went offline. The most severely affected city was Soma, located some 40 kilometers. The port also suffered liquefaction when sand erupted from fissures in the asphalt. There were also reports of conflagrations from local authorities. Another landslide in Nihonmatsu partially buried the Ibishu circuit, a racetrack located along the slopes of a mountain. The landslide took with it cars and a double-story building, eventually burying them. The racetrack also cracked as a result of the ground slumping. In Sendai, the walkway of an apartment block on the second floor collapsed. No one was injured from the collapse. One resident was trapped